Share.
Thank you very much. Good morning, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. I would like first and foremost to thank you for turning up in large numbers and coming to listen to our Vice Chancellor give his reaction to a number of pertinent issues. But before we start, I would like to request a volunteer to lead us in an opening prayer. Any volunteer, Dr. Mnyaya?
They are happy for seeing me here. Wanasikia raha kuniona. So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Let us bow down our heads and pray. Father, in the name of Jesus, we come before your holy throne this morning with thanksgiving in our hearts. We thank you for the mercies that you've granted to us each and every day. We give you praise for the promise of your word, the promise that tells us, Lord, that for those who love God, all things work together for good. For those called according to his promise, Lord, I declare this over our lives. All things work together, all things are working together, and I pray that everything that the devil meant for harm, you, King Jesus, will turn it into good. Every trap that the enemy has set, may it become a stepping stone for us. Lord, every attack that comes our way, the PU family way, I pray that these evil attacks be turned around for good. Again, Lord, we declare your words in Psalms 57, verse 1 to 3. Be merciful to us, O God. Be merciful to me and to everyone in this room. For in your soul we take refuge. For in the shadow of your wings we will take refuge until the storms of destruction pass by. God, as we start this meeting, we ask you to come before us, join us, be with us from the beginning to the end. We pray, trusting and believing that you've had it all through Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior.
Thank you so much for such a powerful prayer. I believe we are now set and ready to start the meeting. As we settle down, I would like to now kindly and humbly request our Vice Chancellor, Professor Mohamed Rajab, to take over and address the staff. Welcome, Prof.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to start first by thanking you all for sparing time this morning to attend this very important meeting. I will be very brief so that I don't spend too much time. Now, yesterday, there was a delegation which came to see me, and they informed me that this meeting, there will be a fracas in this meeting, and that as Vice Chancellor, I'll not be allowed to speak, and there will be vuvuzelas in this meeting if I don't talk about the CBA 2017-2021 horizontal vice diagonal. Now I have a list of items which I would like to talk on. But before I say anything, I'd like to also, for the records, assure you that as an institution, We are very much aware of the prevailing COVID-19 challenge, and we have taken the necessary mitigation measures to ensure safety of staff and students. Now, the agenda items which I wanted to speak about are the following. First, implementation of the CBA 2017-2021, that is horizontal vice diagonal. Negotiations touching on the local chapter 2017-2021. Payment of postgraduate supervision. Staff promotions. And then I wanted to also touch on other matters. These are directives on allowances. And yesterday we had a long meeting which ended very late in the evening with the SRC concerning allowances. Appointments, these are new appointments. Restructuring of universities, merging and abolition of departments and or program, staff redundancies, abolition of positions, etc. I will also mention, but in passing, the draft proposed bill, which is currently sitting in Parliament on the amended Universities Act, and finally, on the actualization of the digital access control system. Now, that was the order of my presentation. Now, following this delegation which came to visit, I'm changing this order of presentation to start with other matters. Now, if anybody is unhappy, they can start doing the vuvuzela now or walk out now. Kindly, let us have decorum as we walk out. If anybody is unhappy with that arrangement, I'll start with other matters. Then staff promotions, then payment of postgraduate supervision, and finally on the CBA 2017-2021. So those who wanted to do vuvuzela, kindly do them now and then walk out. Can I continue with that proposed arrangement? Members, can I continue? Thank you. So I'll go to the last page and then continue from there. Unfortunately, we had to change this because of these issues. Now, the last item which I wanted to talk about, but now it's the first item. Colleagues, listen carefully. This is very important. It touches on all of us and this university and the security of all of us, students and staff. No. This is my meeting and this is my agenda. Yes. This item is very important and is for purposes of information to members of staff. This is the actualization of the digital access control system. We had sent a circular. There were two circulars, one from the DVC-AFP and one from myself concerning this issue. This issue is very, very important. It touches on your security, the security of the rest of us and our students. This was a directive from government that we do this. In fact, we are very late as an university to do this. Now, this effort, colleagues, is underway. As I said, I wrote a circular. All members of staff have to identify themselves fully before they be given any access to university facilities and services, including the medical cover. There is no way out of this. you are not fully identified, the assumption is that you are an imposter and you are not a member of staff, and therefore as an institution, we have no business investing on you or your family. So take this exercise with the importance it deserves. Because the moment it is actualized, we will implement it fully. And if you're out of it and we remove you from the medical cover to go back, it becomes very difficult. This is something which we have no room to sway. It is a must that we are identified when you come to the university, and we are known that the person who's passing through is so and so, and we are known fully. So kindly support this exercise, and let us make it easy for all of us. The second item is on the university's amendment. I'm sure many of you are aware that there's a bill in Parliament which will affect public universities and by extension those working in those institutions. A parliamentary committee will be in Mombasa this week. I don't know whether colleagues have made efforts to make their contributions in that bill. This is just for information, because the moment something becomes law, then it becomes very difficult. So this is for your information. And as I said, I'll be very fast. So we will arrive at the 2017-2021. The next one is restructuring of public universities. I'm sure you have read this in the papers, and it has been in the public domain. There are some universities which have already been listed. I don't want to mention, but the obvious ones are the Nairobis of this world, KU, Moi, for purposes of restructuring. But that message applies to all the public universities. As a matter of fact, we have been instructed to relook at ourselves, to relook at our activities with the aim of removing duplications, removing unnecessary expenditure items, abolition of unsustainable departments and programs which do not attract students. As an institution, we have embarked on this exercise. We've started this exercise actually earlier than this announcement, when we harmonized our causes. Now that exercise will continue. As stakeholders yourselves, you will be involved in this exercise. This is also for information and also to seek your support when we come to you with these issues. On appointments, and now these are new appointments. And it's important also for you, because when you apply to go in another place, maybe for greener pastures, now all appointments, all in the public sector, must be approved by Treasury before being effected. For our situation, the appointments first must be approved by the Ministry of Education, and then the Treasury. In the absence of that, you do not appoint, because the Treasury will not give you the funds to engage those parties. Rajabu akiwachapa shauri yenu, atafuta kazi. Allowances, the SRC, as I said yesterday, engaged the public universities as stakeholders on the issue of payment of allowances. It is important for the union to be in the picture, because we also shared with them that they should involve the unions on matters allowances and matters benefits. Because what is coming out is that The idea now is to have a consolidated salary. One pay, mshahara moja. And then another line item reading allowances. Now this is still at the stakeholder discussions, and as unions yourselves, important that you are cognizant of this, because it will visit us at some point. On staff promotions, which was also an item raised by the local chapter here, we had fixed staff promotions beginning this week. In fact, to be precise, on Thursday. However, you may not be aware, Professor Mondo, it has been brought to my attention that there is a circular from government freezing appointments and promotions for 2 years. Now, as colleagues, we are going to access this communication, and they are requesting DVCFP to try to get this communication, study it carefully, and then make informed decisions. As an institution, we want to promote members of staff because we believe you deserve those promotions. But there's also the government. So we are going to access that circular if it is there, and if it is there's a way to go around it, we will do it. If there's no way of going around it, we will also inform you accordingly. But that is the position. Now the APC remains on Thursday until we get that circular. And if it says otherwise, we will make adjustments accordingly. The last one before we go to the CBA issues is payment for postgraduate supervision. Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm directing this to at least one dean who keeps raising this. Colleagues, this payment has raised queries from the Kenya National Audit Office. Please note that the Office of the Auditor General is an independent office anchored in the Constitution. The report is not a secret. It is in the public domain and can be downloaded from the internet. What you need to do is just type Audit Report, Pwani University, 2019-2020, and you'll get the report. It is on the internet. So that dean, I suggest, access the internet and look at that report. Now the heading in that report is staff honoraria, and it reads, and I'd like to quote from that report which is in the internet. During the year under audit, it reads, a total of 3,098,000 was paid to various staff as honoraria. However, this was not among the allowances listed in Salaries and Remuneration Commission circular, reference it's given there of 2014. Further, it says, the honoraria payment was not subjected to income tax. I'm reading this, it's in the internet, the report from the Auditor General. Non-compliance with tax exposes the university to penalties and fines by the Kenya Revenue Authority. Consequently, the university made an irregular payment of honoraria amounting to Kenya shillings 3,098,000, and the management is in breach of the law. And that particular dean keeps insisting that we pay this. My friend, if you are here, I will not pay you. And that is final, because I will be in breach of the law, and I'll be the one jailed while you eat the money. So I will not pay. Now I have explained this to the deans, Senate, and have written to all members of staff explaining the challenge. We have responded to the auditors that this honoraria has now been stopped. We have done that response. I hope this cures the query, because from my experience with audit queries, you only cure when you make recoveries. So I hope our response will cure the query. However, to be on the safe side, I have already requested the Finance Division to finalize the compilation of the lists of all those who have been paid in the past, in readiness to make recoveries just in case. Oh yes, just in case. I hope DVC you are listening. I don't want to go to jail. I'm about to retire. Kwa iko na shida, haya. Tajua hapo. Now, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to spend the remaining time, and as I promised, I will be very brief indeed, on the issue of the CBA 2017-2021. Be patient as I make this presentation. First, I would like to bring everything, the facts on the table, so that we all understand what are the facts and what is the truth. And then, if you remain patient, I will try to open a window to see how, as a team, we can chart the way forward together on this, so that we have a solution. Those were my intentions. I didn't come here or call you here to dictate to you, give you a lecture, shout at you, and lock horns with you. No. I came here so that we can compare notes, share ideas, hear from you, and then agree together on the way forward, how we are going to cure this challenge which we have. But first, listen to the facts. Ndio, mkishasikia ile maneno ya ukweli, kisha sasa tuone tutafanya namna gani, tuone vile vitu hawa nataka watapata vipi, ikiwa itapatikana. Ikiwa haipatikani, I will tell you, and you can continue with the vuvuzela. Sawa hivyo? Sawa. Now, colleagues, when the salary awards was given, officials of the national unions, representatives of the university management, the SRC, among other stakeholders, converged with a view of working on the implementation modalities. This is a fact, and it took place. These teams converged. There were even representatives from SRC, the national guys, even the local chapters were there. Now, it's important at this juncture to note one thing, which is very important, that the SRC is an independent commission established under Article 230 of the Constitution, and also the Salaries and Remuneration Commission Act. The powers of SRC, and I'd like to read, I'll be very fast on this. A, set and regularly review the remuneration and benefits of all state officers. And B, advise the national and county governments on the remuneration and benefits of all other public officers. Now, in exercising its mandate, the SRC guided that the implementation of the salary award be done horizontally. At some point, they did that. I'm not saying we should do that, no. But it's good to know the history. At some point, the SRC did that, and that the retirement age be in line with the public service guidelines. That's what the SRC said. Now, this created differences, and the matter ended in court. Now, to cut the story short, colleagues, the court, in its wisdom, gave interim orders to enable implementation of the CBA as the court process continued. Because the money had come, like the money was available, it was not enough. The unions there was a strike, we were in court, the court could not make a final ruling, so the court gave an interim ruling. Okay? Now, I have already, if I have not, then it will be done, circulated the interim court orders to all members of staff, all of you. So you'll read it in detail. This is a long document. I don't want to read it here. But I have extracted the relevant component, the actual orders, for your information. Now, these are the interim orders. Okay? 1, all the 3 CBAs, that is Kuveiha, Kusu, and Uwasu, it reads, are accepted for registration as presented to the court, with the exception of the retirement age clause, which will be determined in the final judgment and is therefore excluded from the CBAs. That was the first order. Interim. Second, the implementation will be on a horizontal order. Now, the problem started when some funny CEOs of some funny universities somewhere implemented on their own. Some decided to pay horizontally and retained people on 2017 salary. Some decided to pay diagonally and they paid arrears and said, "Kuna tena pesa mumbakie 27." Everybody did his own way. But the court is very clear here. Okay? Okay. 3, the retirement age currently in force will continue until the dispute is finally determined. These are interim orders, and they are not many. And then 4, which is also important, it reads, the issue of whether to implement the CBA both horizontally and vertically will abide the final determination of the dispute hearing. It is very clear that everybody implements horizontally. The issue of doing both will wait until the final ruling. Now, I'm sharing this because this is where the rain started falling on public universities, because colleagues implemented it wrongly. Government thought there was money, and watu wakaendelea hivyo. All parties herein are directed to file submissions, it says, on the issues within 30 days. And finally, the 6th item here, these matters will be heard by way of highlighting of the further submissions to be filed together with the submissions already on record on a date to be set by the court at the time of delivery of this ruling. And this was signed on 3rd of July 2020. These dates are also important. And the judge was Maureen Onyango. And if you search on the internet, you'll get this ruling. Now, colleagues, following these orders, the National Implementation Committee met, and subsequently the local implementation committee sat and agreed on implementation framework. As an institution, we implemented the salary award horizontally as directed by the court at that time, using the interim orders. That's what we did. Now, the funds received are as follows. Pwani University received 107,527,000 873 on the 6th of July 2020. You see, the ruling was done on the 3rd of July because the money was in the printed estimates. So watu wanavutana. Pesa itaingia kwa university on the 6th of July. Now, the 107 million which we received was part of the 143 million 370,497 which we were to receive to implement the interim court order. It's very important. These are very important facts. We are all in the boat called Pwani University. There are some busy trying to put holes in that boat. Tutazama zote. Rajab happens to have wings. He'll fly. Wachia hiyo boat. Shorie. Yes. Now we received 107,527,873 as part of 143,370,497 on July 20th, 2020. July 6, 2020. And the government promised that within that financial year, we'll get the balance, the outstanding balance. Within that financial year, that is 2020, 2021. Tutapawa pesa zote. That's what they promised. Now towards the, now on the 7th of July, see tulipata tarehe 6 July. On the 7th of July, even before the money has settled properly, because pesa nyingi na settle it. Before the money has settled, a meeting of the local joint implementation committee, hawa hapa, ni wakali, wanataka pesa, was held to review the computation, and on 9th, how many days? 3 days down the road. On 9th, the university paid out 68,514,000 as arrears. And this can be confirmed by your members who are here. Because this is factual and the data is there. Hakuna kuficha. Now this was made to members in settlement of arrears for financial year 2017, 2018, 2018, 2019, 2019, 2020, miaka tatu. So the arrears was paid for 3 years, horizontally. All this was done, colleagues, as per the interim court orders issued on the 3rd July 2020. Those orders which were issued on the 3rd, we used them to pay on the 9th of July 2020. And there was no issue. But as I said, other funny places did funny things. But we don't want to be like those funny places. All this, as I said, was done as per the court ruling. Now, as from July now, si tayari watu tumelipa hizo 3 levels, people were put on new notches as from July 2020. It was not a salary of 2017. It was a salary horizontally done. Arrears were paid horizontally. Watu wakaingia into some new notches. That new notch resulted in a differential in the payroll to the tune of 4.7 million per month. And this can be checked. Check the payroll year 2017, check the payroll year July of 2020. You'll see for yourself. The details are there though. So anybody who wants to see all the details, zote ziko huko finance, watapewa. It's not a secret. Okay? Now we did this and continued paying. That is July, August, September. Tukaendelea, tukalipa until February 2021. 21, when the money which was remaining ran out. There was no more money. So we sat. In fact, we even raised it in council. And the idea was to return people to 2017. Because the funds allocated for horizontal was done. We continued mpaka zikaisha. But then indications from government is that there will be money coming in that financial year. Nothing came. We finished that financial year, and Pwani University ended up with a deficit of 17,884,631 deficit, paying those additional salaries March, April, May, and June, 4 months. Tukaingia hiyo deficit ya 17 million. Now the questions which some of the unions were telling me, not you, but some of your colleagues, is that why did you pay? You should have stopped. Now when you stop and reduce somebody's salary, the Employment Act will be on you. It will be termed an illegality. We didn't want to do that. So we did what we did, and we can defend it. And it is for the good of all of you. Now coming back to the court process. See, tulimaliza ile interim order, tukasema vile tuliimplement. Coming back to the court process, on 15th January 2021, 15th January 2021, the court eventually gave its orders on both the retirement age and the implementation framework of the 2017-2021 CBAs. Colleagues, however, since our focus is on the implementation of the CBA, I will not like to read, I will only read the last 2 paragraphs touching on that. As I said, even this document, I've asked that it be circulated to all of you, but if it has not, it will be, but it is on the internet. And I'd like to read what the court said, now the final ruling. And this is where we are at the moment. It reads, the court therefore finds the CBAs signed and registered, as well as the computation by the implementation committees of the universities is correct and is based on the unaltered matrix as presented to the IPU-CCF by the SRC. The SRC looked at it, presented a matrix to IPU-CCF, and that is the one which is in court. The court therefore confirms that the computation by the implementation committee of IPU-CCF was accurate, and that the figure of 8.8 billion, the figure of 8.8 billion is not sufficient to implement the CBAs, as it did not include the annual increments and the resultant pension liabilities payable by the IPU-CCF members on behalf of their staff. So in many words, what it is saying is that those computations are okay, and the payment should be done including the annual increments, and 8.8 billion is not enough. It's not me saying it's not enough. It was said in court. Tunakaribia mwisho. And it continued. So I still read the ruling so that you are in the picture. Be patient. Now the SRC is therefore directed, that's what it says, and this is very important, by the way. The SRC is therefore directed to work together with IPU-CCF Implementation Committee, the Ministry of Education, and Treasury to make provision for the additional budgetary allocation necessary for implementation of the CBAs. Now, I have told the unions that, as Professor Rajab, I've been in this for many years. for many years. Yes, I was dean of a school in 1990 in Kitambo. And I told the colleagues that I am convinced that the diagonal implementation is the correct position. And that one I've told them many times. The diagonal implementation, and this is on YouTube, by the way. So wale ambao nataka vuvuzela waonekane, we are on YouTube. Even what I'm saying is on YouTube. I'm convinced that that is the correct way. And the court also said so. But the question is, has the budgetary allocation necessary for implementation of this being availed to the universities? So let me continue, and then we will discuss and see how to handle this issue. Ni sawa sawa? Ama mnataka pingine? I'm reminding those guys, if they want to start again, vuvuzela and walk out, they can. Because I didn't like that statement. So I'll keep repeating it mpaka mchoke msikie. Vizuri. Now, this is the order, and it was dated 15th January 2021 and signed by Maureen Onyango, who was the judge. And it's very clear that universities, SRC was directed to look for the money, and we are expected to implement diagonally. That's what the ruling says. There's no debate, and I've never debated that. And those guys who are peddling information that BC is blocking that, they can stand here and say, if I didn't tell them that I support it. What I asked them to do is show me where the money will come from. Anyway, on July 2021, hii ni sio kitambo, juzi, the university received communication from the Ministry of Education on the approval of the financial year 2021-2022 medium-term budget that indicated an amount of Kenya shilling 32,584,204. Interestingly, and it's for the records, and I think the union also need to have this on their records, this was received instead of the expected shortfall of 35,842,624. In short, we got less than what they had within the distribution of 8.8. So I don't know. I think they were chopping from every university. Where they were going, the money was due. Now this amount is not in a basket sitting in my office. Hiyo 32 million, hapana. Because that is also another funny peddling of information. That pesa ameweka huko huyo mzee, huko kwa hiyo ofisi. Pea hakuna huko pesa. This was in the printed estimates, and what we are receiving is 2.7 million per month in the payroll in form of capitation. We get capitation which has been enhanced by 2.7 million. Now, if you have been taking notes, I said after we had pushed people horizontally to the new notch, the salary differential had a shortfall of 4.7 million a month, if you remember. Tuendelee tu. Now, the first installment for this was received in the month of July. For the month of July was received on 3rd August 2021. And the records are there. Now, colleagues, it's important, very important, to note that Pwani University effected payment of annual salary increments for July 2021 cohort, and that of the January cohort, we shall hopefully be effected in January 2022. See, CBA ilienda paka 2021, tumeingia mwaka mpya. We have done annual increments. Check which universities have done that. The reason we did it is because I'm convinced that the diagonal is the correct. And if we don't do it, we'll end up accumulating more debts. So we have paid people annual increment. The next cohort will hopefully be paid in January. I'm saying hopefully because I hope that we remain open. If we are closed, pesa itakuwa hakuna. Okay? Now the total cost, just for your information, of the annual increments alone is 11,119,273. Mwende mtizame tu, walipofanya increment, pesa ilikwenda mpaka wapi. This is there, and nowadays it's so easy because everything is digital. Now, colleagues, and I know I'm repeating this too much, but it's important. The misinformation that the university is holding 107 million, and also Kenya shilling 32 million, which belongs to you, in a basket somewhere, is not true. I appeal to colleagues to do a thorough research, especially on financial matters, before making such outrageous and alarming statements. It's not good. It's not good. Now, in good faith, colleagues, and in an attempt to correct the misleading narrative being peddled around, I called all union officials, and I'd like to thank them because I can see many of them here. They actually came, all of them, and I thank you publicly. I say thank you very much. That is Uwasu, Kusu, and Kodeha on Thursday, 14th October 2021, and attempted to explain the matters at hand, though today's explanation is more detailed. I also appealed to the union to hold your mandato and wait for the outcome of the discussions on the same currently going on at the national level. These issues, even yesterday, there were long discussions on this issue. There's a report, but here anyway, the unions are aware. It looks like the national union is not happy with some of the recommendations of the report and things like that, so kuna mvutano, which we want to escalate to the PS, the CS, so that I can inform the Treasury to release funds for us to implement this thing which we believe is the way to go. Now, I did explain this. Now, still, though, there are so many questions being asked. I'll pick two of those questions being asked around. One, why are other universities implementing diagonally and Pwani University is not doing so? Now, I shared with you occurrences where some other universities implemented diagonally, even when the court said implement horizontally. So some of those are those ones. Some of those. The ones who broke the law the first round. And they are about 5. And then they have now increased in number because of the pressure from the unions. My response to this, colleagues, is that we are implementing the salary award as per the SRC directive within the resource envelope availed by the government of Kenya to implement this directive. Now, the SRC gave a directive that we implement horizontally, and it is still there. Now, I'm told that the High Court vacated. Now, the High Court does not vacate other people's directives. They give their own orders. The High Court gave an order. Their SRC directive is still an SRC directive until they do another one. So it's very, very important for us to know that. We will discuss the way out of this though. Now, the other question which keeps popping up because of misinformation is that the Vice Chancellor is refusing to implement a court order. Colleagues, I read that court order. That court order is not directed to the VC. It's directed to SRC, IPU, CCF, Ministry of Education, Treasury. Now, if the Vice Chancellor is in contempt of court, I can assure you by now ningekuwa niko shimo la tewa. I'll be arrested by now. So I suggest, colleagues, members, have sent the court order to you. Read it carefully. I can assure you, this VC is not in contempt of the court order. Though I have been accused at one point, sindio na hawa watu hawa, where I was in contempt. Lakini walishangaa. I went myself paka huko nikamwambia nifunge tu. I'm not afraid, colleagues. I'm not. So if I'm in contempt, fine. But fortunately, I'm not. Now, my take, before we go now to which windows we need to open, is that the strategy employed by the union to pressure universities in the local chapter, this is now my opinion, is faulty, unfair, and could harm the affected institutions irreversibly. From the time this thing started, I've been signing inter-university transfers quite a number, affecting your school, agriculture. Kwa hivyo sijui kama utakuwa na wanafunzi, inaweza kuwa na zero. Yeah. So this affects the university irreversibly. Be careful. Now, the organ which guides on matters salary is the SRC. And if there's any pressure to be applied, in my opinion, it should be to the SRC. Now, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I can assure you, the moment the SRC gives a directive and GK provides funding, si ile nili implement in 3 days, hii nita implement in 1 day. Yeah. Pesa ikukuja leo, kesho huyu ata implement. The reason it will be done in 1 day is because they have already done the calculations. They know who gets what, who gets kitu gani, who gets kitu gani. Kwa hivyo hakuna cha calculation, ni kwenda tu kuweka hizo pesa. Now, colleagues, this has been made to appear as a local chapter issue. It is not. I don't think I have problems with the people, the local chapter. This is a national issue. And if we take it as a national issue, we'll have solutions, because money comes from the national kitty. Now, having said all this, what do we do? What do we do? So I have been engaging even our team in finance. What do we do? Because we have a budget. If you can find the money in the budget and you can sustain it, I'm ready to table that proposal to council. That I can do. I have no problem. Now, we have done scenarios ourselves. There is a meeting of the audit committee on the 12th of November. Mwezi huu si unaingia tayari? 12. Now, it happens that our council is not fully constituted. So if I bring the chair of council, the other members are in the audit committee. In short, it is possible for me to have a special council meeting on the 12th of November of this month. Now, the window which we can consider is we form a team and they work with our team and see where we can chop. Furthermore, I think moving forward, I can tell them where to chop. Teaching practice itakuwa inaenda mara moja, badili ya mara sijui 10. Vitu kama hivyo. Waondoshe hizo vitu, wa chop, waonyeshe pesa ni hizi, and they give me a proposal I will table in council on the 12th. Now that's the window which I'm proposing. After you have known the facts. Now the timelines, if it is acceptable, is that I have to get in the office by 5th so that I can call the meeting, because the meetings have to be called 7 days before the actual date. Since the date is 12, nyuma siku 7 ni tarehe 5. If you can tell me where to chop to do something to whatever you are asking, I will table in council. And there's another thing which I can tell you. I'll support it in council. And if it makes sense, it will go through. Now that's one option. The other option, and I've talked to the students already because they came to see me in my office, we close the university. We yield and close the university, allow the students to go home. And we close indefinitely until the money is paid. And I can assure you, I don't know when it will be paid. That one I can't say for sure. Maybe if all the public universities are closed, we close. So I told the students that we will not do anything rash until I talk to you guys and also talk to the students, leaders, and the student population, like this one, all of them. I'll talk to them in the library and pass the message. Because they came to see me, they said they have heard rumors that I want to increase fees to pay you. I told them that is far. Niliwaambia hiyo ni urongo. Ni urongo kabisa. Hakuna fee tutaongeza. Yes. Maana moto na waka wengine nataka wakisha zaidi. So colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, that is the proposal. Now if that proposal appears it can help, then let it be so. If it can't, the next moves now, and I thought I'll call all of you so that I tell you point blank is that I will engage the students and see how best to close the university. Now my caution though, as I said, mimi niko na mbawa naruka. It is very difficult to fight for your case when the students are at home. In short, it will be full stop. For Pwani chapter watangoja sasa, wacha wale wengine wafunge mpaka zote zifungwe kisha labda tutakutana. So I don't want us to do that because we are killing this institution, and let us protect this institution if we can. And as I said, and I like to re-echo again, what I've said is the truth and it's factual, and I'm speaking it. Though sometimes I get annoyed, but I mean well. I have no agenda on anybody here. Japokuwa huyu nilimpa warning kidogo, lakini hiyo ni kumwamsha amuke. Si amuke tu, ajue mambo iko sawa. So I have no issue though. When he wants a big job, I'll recommend him and he will come and I will have no issue. So colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, that's my piece. And if you think that makes sense, you can engage the registrar who chairs the steering. Is it the implementation committee? Then he'll come with a proposal. The timeline is 5th of November. If that timeline is not met, it's still okay. It will be then 5th of December because we have another meeting in December of council. Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, that was what I called you for. Asanteni sana kwa kunisikiza na mkutano umeisha. Kwa heri.